Welcome back to 5-Minute Sermons. We are going to be in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. I like to label this one evil intent and good purpose. Genesis 50, verse 20. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. I absolutely love this story. It's the story of Joseph and his brothers. And as the story culminates at the end of the book of Genesis, you have approximately a 22-year period from the time that Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery because they were jealous of him, hateful toward him, and they perceived him to be arrogant because of the dreams that God had given him. And maybe he was proud, but we don't know that. What we know is that there was an evil intent that his brothers had in their jealousy against him. So, dad is upset. Joseph is gone. 22 years gone. And you have this whole story of how Joseph ends up being the one who manages and organizes the way that God chooses to provide for his people, for Israel and the world even. And so you have the end of it where Jacob is finally passed away, dad is finally gone, and his brothers are kind of scared because maybe Joseph was just being good because of dad being there, and he didn't want to vex his father with the arguments of the children anymore. And so they come to his brother, or the brothers come to Joseph, and they say, hey, we're your servants. Please don't use your power and position to punish us. And Joseph makes this statement. He recognizes that they had an intention of evil, but in that intention of evil, God meant that evil for good. Now, he didn't make their evil good. He didn't make the bad deed that they do go away. He didn't make it to where, God wanted it to happen this way, therefore we are exempt from the judgment that will come. No. Plain and simple, Joseph recognized the sovereign hand of God in the middle of suffering. Because even though for 22 years he had ups and downs, most of it seemed to be down. And for the few years that he was in that high position of rulership within the government, he had a lot, but he still had this because he was a Hebrew, he was separated out. He had a family there, but he didn't have his family there. He seemed to be all alone in Egypt. And as he was all alone in Egypt, though he had much, there was probably still a sorrow in his heart that he didn't get to see his dad, that he didn't get to see his brother Benjamin, that he didn't even get to be around for the various things that he knew growing up. And yet, in the middle of all that suffering and all that difficult situation and circumstance, he trusted in a sovereign God. My friends, this is the encouragement that I hope this passage can bring to you, because it brings it to me very often when I look at evil intent. There is evil intent in the world. There are actors in our world, people that have evil intended. Sometimes that evil might come upon you. Sometimes that evil might come upon our town. Sometimes that evil might come upon our state or even our nation. Yet those of us who are in Christ, who trust the Lord for our salvation, can also trust that evil intention very often is the good purpose of God. Just think about Romans 8:28, that God works all things for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Now, those all things are worked for good. Those can be bad things. They can be evil intention of evil actors. My friends, let us not be discouraged by the evil in the world, but let that evil drive us to a place where we rest in God's goodness, trusting in him, much like Joseph did. Much like Joseph did in not taking the act of judge into his hands that he actually had the power to do, but he didn't avail himself to it. Why? because he trusted in a holy and sovereign God. My friends, in these dark days, may we trust in a holy, sovereign God, trusting that even in the middle of evil intent, there is God's good purpose. God bless you, my friends. We'll catch you next time.